So good morning and good afternoon, everybody. We've got people joining us from all over the world today. My name is Marie, and I'm with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So if this is your first time joining us, we're all about bringing conservation, exploration, and science to classrooms all over the world. Now, I know it's a really strange and difficult time to be a student and teacher right now, so I really appreciate every single one of you for joining us today as we continue to showcase and celebrate all the amazing people and places from across the world. And today is no exception, as we're going to be learning all about the Cheetah Conservation Fund. Now, the CCF has been providing sanctuary to orphaned and injured cheetahs in Namibia for over 30 years now. And to tell us all about it, today we have Carolyn Farquhar, who works in Canada on behalf of the CCF to help people of all ages learn about this amazing species and how we can help ensure they stay protected. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today, Carolyn. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Marie. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about cheetahs. As Marie said, I'm located in Canada, but I'll be talking to you about cheetahs that are mostly in Namibia, but in some other parts of Africa. So maybe just to say that the mission of Cheetah Conservation Fund is to protect the cheetah in the wild for this and future directions. So all of you, we're thinking of all of you out there to make sure that we keep the cheetahs in the wild and that we save them from extinction. I've been working with Cheetah Conservation Fund for about 10 years, and I love it, and I think you'll see why. If we can just go to the next slide. Yeah, this is, sometimes people want to know, how did you get interested in cheetahs? And I do know when I got interested. I've always loved cats, especially big cats. And when I was about 10 years old, I was given by my parents this book called The Spotted Sphinx. And it's by Joy Adamson. And some of you may have heard of her. She was the one who did all the work on Born Free. And that's a phrase that we talk about now, Born Free. Anyway, this book was about Pippa. And Pippa is a cheetah that had been in captivity, and she was successfully reintroduced to the wild. And the book is all about her and the cheetah cubs that she had in the wild. And that's where it started for me. Next slide. Yeah, so this, I hope all of you recognize, this is a cheetah. And that's actually a cheetah at Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia. And some of you, I hope, know that the cheetah is the fastest land animal in the world. How fast? Well, they can go from this, just looking around, and they can go from 0 to 80 kilometers an hour. And for those of you who don't use kilometers, let's try 50 miles per hour. That's fast. And they can do that in 3 seconds. So they can move faster than a very fast car, but they can only maintain that speed for about 1/3 of a mile. So that's why they're really unique, because of that speed. They have spots. No two cheetahs look alike. Every cheetah has a different spot pattern. And I don't know if you can see on this slide, but if you look at their feet, now it's not a great photo, but actually cheetahs have claws that are not retractable. So you know that some of you have cats, you know that they have claws, but they can retract them. But cheetahs have claws that are always there, and that helps them run very quickly. But the problem is that there are only 7,100 cheetahs left in the wild. So they are an endangered species, and that's why we're working to save them. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is someone I'd like to introduce you to. You'll see a little bit more of her during my presentation. This is Dr. Lori Marker. with her cheetah, Chewbacca. She raised Chewbacca from an infant cub, and she's the world's leading expert on cheetahs, #1. She grew up in California, if there's anybody from California on the call, but she went to Namibia in the 1980s. She wanted to see whether cheetahs in captivity could be rewilded. And now, having established Cheetah Conservation Fund over 30 years ago, she spends every day working to save the cheetah from extinction. The next slide. Yeah, and there's a picture of Dr. Lori. We all call her Dr. Lori. That's me in the middle, and that's Kate, who's one of the cheetah keepers. So those two cheetah, just to introduce them to you, you might be wondering why we're so close to them. Well, they are 2 of 4 cheetahs, all brothers and sisters. So there are 4 of them. This is Peter and Tiger Lily with Lori. And they came to Cheetah Conservation Fund. They were orphans at 3 weeks old, and that's about 13 years ago. They didn't have a mother anymore, or nobody to take care of them in the wild. So they were raised by humans, bottle fed and raised. And so they're very comfortable with humans, but they're still wild animals. And you'll see that Lori's very close, Kate's very close. I'm not touching the cheetahs because we really respect at Cheetah Conservation Fund that cheetahs they're not domestic animals, they are wild animals. So we're really, really careful. Next slide, please. This is a picture of cheetahs just moving, and I love this because it really shows all the attributes of the cheetah, why they're so fast. Look at that cheetah moving. You see that all 4 feet are off the ground, and you see that big tail there. That really acts as a rudder, so he can make very fast turns. And he's probably moving at about, probably about 40 kilometers an hour right there, chasing. And that's what they love to do. So cheetahs are remarkable animals. Next slide, please. Now, where is Cheetah Conservation Fund? This is a map of the continent of Africa. And you see right down in the lower left-hand corner, at the south of the continent, that's Namibia. And that is where most of the cheetah are now. Not all of them. They are others that are spread in different countries around that red part of the map. But we are losing cheetahs. As I said, we only have 7,100 left. And so this is where most of them are. And if you go to the next slide, you see so we've kind of taken, you see on the right-hand side, that's Namibia, kind of a bit smaller. And then the one on the left of the slide, that's exactly where the arrow is, where the point of the arrow, that's exactly where Cheetah Conservation Fund is. So it's quite far north. It's very dry there. It's a desert. The cheetahs love that. That's really their kind of habitat. For some of us, it's a bit warm. Right now, it's summer there because they're in the southern hemisphere. But it's a beautiful place. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the sign that you see when you go to Cheetah Conservation Fund. As I said, it was founded in 1990, so just about 30 years ago. It's a sanctuary. They have orphaned and injured cheetahs that they take care of there, but it's also an education center. About 100 staff. People work with cheetahs. They work with the livestock guarding dogs. They do lots of research and education, and that means really educating the young people and the farmers in the local communities. So let me just show you a little video. If you can just run this, it's about 30 seconds. Here's just a drone shot that I love because it shows you this is Cheetah Conservation Fund. You can see some of the buildings there that house the people who work there, the animals, the guests that come to work or just to see the cheetahs. So it's quite a growing place, and the Cheetah Conservation covers about 100,000 acres, if you can picture that in mind. You're in mind. Okay, if we can stop here then, that'd be great. Let me just give you a little bit of idea what we do at Cheetah Conservation Fund. As I said, we do have cheetahs in the sanctuary. They have either lost their mother or been injured, so they need to be taken care of. Some will stay there for their whole lives. Some will be rewilded, and we'll be talking about that. But every day at CCF, we need to take care of the cheetahs. We need to, and that includes feeding them. That's important. Some of them are in very large enclosures, and you'll see this in this video that I'm just going to show you in a moment. It's a large enclosure about half an hour away from the center of CCF, Cheetah Conservation Fund. So they don't see many people, these cheetahs, and that's a good thing, because if we're going to rewild cheetahs, we want to make sure that they're not very habituated or comfortable with humans, and that they really have big places to run, and that's really important. So here's you're going to see, I'm going to just let you run this video if you can, and you'll see that's I'm in the background, and that's another working volunteer there, and we are feeding the cheetahs. So we're on a pickup truck. We're moving pretty fast down this track. The cheetahs are chasing us because that's how they are used to getting their food. So we're kind of trying to replicate the way that they get fed. So they're chasing, they're coming close, they're getting really excited about the food that they're going to get, because you're going to see we throw them the meat. So just watch this. This cheetah is actually almost overtaking us. I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but they all know what's coming, and they're anxious to be fed. And sometimes you can see they get a little bit hungry and want that food. So one of them just got the piece of meat, and now we're going to do it again. There you go. We toss the meat, and the cheetah's happy. He takes it away, and he's going to eat it. So he's fed, he's had a chance to run, and he really feels like he's a cheetah in the wild. And here you go again. I don't know if you can see on the video, but there's a fence there. And we're driving. It was crazy. It was a crazy drive, really fun. You're going very fast. The wind is in your hair. And these cheetahs are running almost faster than the truck. And there we go. Again, they're going faster than we are. And we were going fast, believe me. So we're going to just come up to the end here. And there we go. That's me. Good. That's one toss. And then you're going to see me just throwing the meat. Pretty good, huh? There you go. And they got it. And we're all set. Okay. That's great. So one of the things that's important to do is when an orphaned or injured cheetah comes in, when we find a cheetah that's been injured out in the wild, and we bring them in to take care of them, and it could be for a short while. We might put them right back out into the wild. And anytime we are going to release one of our cheetahs back into the wild permanently, we always do a complete medical exam. And it's done under anesthesia because, again, these are wild animals. So you want to be very careful handling them. And I think you're going to see this in this video. So let's just roll this for a few seconds. So you'll see the team working with Dr. Lori. She's right there. Now they're looking at those teeth, but you can see that, the eye mask the cheetah has on, because you don't want them to get startled. We take blood and sperm samples from the cheetahs, and we bank them. We put them in dry ice to keep them. We always check every part of them, make sure their teeth are good. You can see it intravenous. And now you see this cheetah who's still under anesthesia, but being handled very, very carefully by the team. Because when they wake up, they might not be so happy. So we have to make sure we get them into that box. And if we can just, again, stop here. I want to talk now tell you about what it's like to rewild cheetahs. So I just said a few moments ago that anytime any of these cheetahs are taken out to be rewilded, We make sure they're in very, very good health, because they're going to be out in the wild and they need to be all set to take care of themselves. But there's a lot of planning to do before you actually rewild cheetahs. You have to decide where you're going to rewild them. You can't just, let them out the back door. There has to be in a very particular place. So you want to have a place where there's, a big landscape, so that the cheetah is going to have lots of room to roam and to find his own food, whether they're antelopes or other kinds of prey, that he'll be able to find those. So you want that prey to be available. And you have to decide which cheetahs. I mean, you can't just kind of pick any old cheetah to go out in the wild. You have to make sure they're good health, but they are, that they have a basic understanding of, hunting and how to pursue their prey. I think if any of you at home have cats, there's it's almost innate in them to want to hunt. We don't always let them, but it's the same with big cats. It's really part of their instinct. So here's where CCF often releases cheetahs. You can see that, you see where the black dot is on the right? That's where CCF is. And the car is going to a place called Irindi Private Game Reserve, which is it's a very large set of farms and very good habitat for cheetahs. And we often take the cheetahs that are going to be rewilded to Irindi. So let's roll with the video then. So here's the car it's got the crates that the cheetahs are in. And it's a big team. You see, it's done by a lot of people. And here's the moment. Watch this. Here's two cheetahs, Deborah and Zinzi, about to be released. It's a bit slow motion, but then it's going to speed up. Wow. They love it. And there they go. And they're off. Did any of you, maybe you can just stop here too. Did any of you notice on Deborah and Zinzi, who had just released, a collar? You might not have seen it, but we always put a collar on the cheetah so that we can monitor where the cheetah is moving. And the cheetah, we do that by GPS. It's quite, we now use satellites. We used to be a little bit more basic, but now it's done with satellites. People can do it on their phones, so they can monitor the movement of the cheetahs. And that's a great way to know that they are doing well. And that looks like a big collar, but it's not so bad. It weighs about, I would say, maybe a pound. It's not too much. It's around the neck of a cheetah. The cheetah weighs 100 pounds, so it's not too bad. And they last about two years. The battery lasts 2 years. So a lot of the work that we do at Cheetah Conservation Fund is making sure that those collars are well in place. And when they no longer work, when we can no longer find out where the cheetah is, we have to put on a new collar or replace the battery. So that's part of what you do when you are rewilding cheetahs. So you're just going to see in a moment here, and I'll just maybe ask you to stop almost right away. See how it just falls off. After it can be programmed to just fall off the cheetah. We could program it for 2 years from now, or a year from now. So they're kind of clunky looking, but they're quite sophisticated. So I want to tell you about, just to tell you a little bit more about what happens when we have released cheetahs to the wild. And we do that quite a lot. Over the last, I'd say, 20 years, 650 cheetahs have been reintroduced to the wild. So that's pretty amazing. and 100 of them we've radio tracked. So we know where they are. Some of them are no longer alive, but we do know we're able to track them. And when I was there, I had just an amazing opportunity that I want to tell you about. We had released a cheetah about a year before this happened, and her name was Jacomina. And we took her to Irindi, which you saw on the map, and she was doing really well. She was a female, pretty young, I would say maybe 3 years old, and she was a good hunter. She went back into the wild very easily, and we knew she was doing well because we were tracking her. And we found out after about a year, maybe about 9 months, we found out that she'd had 2 cubs, 2 little cubs in the wild, which is very, very cool. That's really what you want, cubs in the wild. And we knew that because we had some photos of them. Not very close, but we were able to see that she had two cubs. And then when they got to be about 6 months old, we could see that from the picture, from our photographs, again, far away, that they were starting to move from their mother. They were starting to get adventurous, like young children or young kittens get. So they were starting to move. And we said, okay, we need to go out and check them and put collars on them. So what we did was, the experience that I had was that we went in a team from Cheetah Conservation Fund in 2 fully equipped trucks. This had all the veterinary medicine and all the collaring medicine, everything you'd need to be collaring these cheetahs. We went very early in the morning before the sun even came up. And one thing is that, and you may have experienced this, but when you're on a team, everybody has a role. Every single person has a very clear role, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Everybody works together. And we had a plan for collaring these cheetahs right up to the minute. So let's just look a little bit at the next. Okay, we've got that, and the next pictures. So and then maybe I'll just pause on this one, and it's maybe just one back. Thanks. Yeah. So, when I said we had to have a very good plan for getting these 2 6-month-old cheetahs, young cheetahs. We named them Shandy and Savannah, so we knew we had names for them, and that's important because they all have personalities, and we wanted to be able to distinguish between them. So first thing that we did when we got to Irindi was we realized that we wanted to collar the cubs, so we had to distract their mother. Jacomina, remember, it was her mother, and she's still quite interested in her cubs. So we found a very big piece of meat, and we put it down for her, and she was distracted. She was working on having her dinner for quite a while. And we were able to get the 2 cubs a little bit away. We darted the cubs, and that's done with a sort of little dart gun that you shoot the animal safely, of course, with a tranquilizer, so they'll be under anesthetics for a short period of time. And when you do that, we were successful in doing that. Again, it's got to be an expert who's doing that. That wasn't my job, but it was somebody who really knows what to do. That you get them, and you try to get them in the thigh or a strong muscly place. And within about 15 or 30 minutes, they're starting to get a little bit woozy, and then they sort of drop down on the ground. They're fine, but they're just they're asleep for a while. And we knew that for each of these cheetahs, we had 2 teams for each of Shandy and Savannah. And we worked very quickly because we knew we only had 25 minutes maximum before those cheetahs would wake up. And believe me, when they wake up, they're disoriented, and again, they're wild animals. So we knew we had to really get everything done. And you can see one of the teams there. I'm in the back. That's me in the hat and the pink shirt. So I had my role for the cheetahs. And in that 25 minutes you measuring everything. You're measuring you get their weight, you get the length of their legs, you're looking at their teeth, you're taking blood samples, you're always checking their heart rate and their temperature, because remember, they're under anesthetic and you want to make sure everything's okay. So you can just see the team working on those two cheetahs. The gentleman in the foreground, he has pliers. He's putting on a collar quickly. He knows what he's doing, and he put that collar on very quickly. And if we go to the next slide. Yeah, and there's just another view. You can see maybe a little bit to the right of the center, something that looks red, little red bottles. That's indeed some blood samples, because we use those to make sure the cheetahs are healthy. We take hair samples, and again, look at all their, even how the measurement of their paws, their teeth, their ears, all the measurements that are so important just to gather that data. And the final picture here is a kind of nice close-up of one of the cheetahs, and that I can't even remember if that was Shandy or Savannah, but if you just can go back to that one shot, that'd be helpful. Yeah, maybe that one. Yeah. You can see again the collar's on. Cheetah's sleeping very soundly. I've got again mask on, so not to be disturbed. And one of the cheetahs did wake up very quickly, and it was you had to have somebody who was very skilled at handling the cheetahs to take care of them and get them back into their cages until they can kind of fully come awake and be okay. And then we take care of them afterwards, make sure they've got food and everything like that. So the next few pictures I just want to show you, because this is quite exciting. These, again, you can't really, well, you can see it, I guess. These are 5, thanks. These are 5 cheetahs that, they're all male. They're all pretty young. I think about 2 or 3 years old. Their names are Thor, Mike, Ben, Max, and West. And what we did was we rewilded them, but we put them in what we call a soft release. So it's not right out into the wild where they have to find the prey and do everything for themselves. In fact, we give them a little food, and you can't really see it, but they are enjoying the food that we've given them. And then, so they're all together. When you have cheetahs together, more than 1, 2, they're called a coalition. So we talk about a coalition of cheetahs. Those 5 are a coalition. Okay, so the next 3 pictures, I think we can go through these. I want to show you these because this happened yesterday. So Sunday, February 6th, these cheetahs, those are the 5 cheetahs. We see a couple of them. And the team yesterday was putting on collars onto all of them. So there's Eli again, he's the cheetah keeper, putting collars onto them. So that's really happens. And this, if we can just turn up the volume on this, this is Dr. Lori Marker speaking. Not sure. Can you hear that? Not sure that we. Okay, good. Yes, so that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. That was quite a bit to share with you, but hope you have some questions, and thanks for tuning in today.
Fantastic. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much. It looks like, let me see from our chat here, no audio in the clip. Okay, that played a little strangely for us, and I'll make sure all our classes do get that clip after the fact of the YouTube sharing all sorts of fun stuff today. Guys, I recognize some of our YouTube viewers who have no idea who I am. My name is Jesse. I'm the education lead at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We have Maria to do a little bit of hosting today. What I want to do now is dive in with our Kahoot quiz, dive in with Q&A. We might go a little bit long as we're rebels together. We all love cheetahs. And so what I'm going to do is just bring up the Kahoot.it pin. So we're going to play a little 4-question quiz. And you don't win anything, but you do win Carolyn and I's everlasting respect if you win this Kahoot quiz. So feel free to bring that up in a separate tab on your computer. If you don't want to play along with the quiz, that is totally fine as well. You can just play along and answer the questions in your classes. So we're going to wait for players over the next couple seconds here, and then we are going to get underway. If you're new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And then get those questions ready. Classes, we'd love to hear from you guys. We're excited to take your questions in a minute. I'll leave that pin up for a second, but also note that you guys can learn more at the amazing Cheetah Conservation Fund website, cheetah.org. All sorts of incredible information there to keep the excitement going after this broadcast is done, and we hope you take the chance to do that. Couple more seconds. Carolyn, out of curiosity, we're going to get more questions. We already have tons of questions coming in on YouTube. Are you willing, or do you have the time to answer a few questions after the broadcast as well? I can set you up with that. Perfect.
Yep, very happy to, yeah.
We're going to set up a Padlet then, and I'll make sure all our classes have that. Well, guys, we're going to get underway. If you haven't joined in yet, that's totally fine. You can play along in your classes. We're going to dive in. So there might be some multiple questions with multiple answers. There might be some with one. It'll tell you for each one. Quiz question number 1. How fast can they run? We talked about this early on in the broadcast. Kilometers per hour, 25 kilometers, 50 kilometers, 100 plus, maybe short distances, or over 9,000 kilometers per hour. What do we think today, guys? 25 answers, 7 more seconds. Fantastic, everybody. All right, 3 more seconds. More of you want to join, that's great too. We'd love to have you. Live classes, you don't need to share questions in the chat. I will come to you in person. So a lot of you said 50 miles per hour for our American friends, or 60 miles per hour at like their upper limit, but 100K is closest to what they can run. So if you got that, we got, look, people with like big cat names got the answers. I love it. We got leopards, tigers, jaguars, oh my. Multi-select. So we talked about one specific country today. So where does the Cheetah Conservation Fund work? If you go to cheetah.org, you might see some of these other countries there too in terms of partnerships that they've had, other organizations they've worked with. But let's see what you guys think. More than one answer. Namibia, I hope you all get. Namibia we talked about a lot today. Where are some other countries with cheetahs? 3 more seconds. And again, check it out. You can see some of the other projects on their website. Somalia, Kenya as well, not Morocco. Cheetahs are not in Morocco in the northern part of Africa. It's a place that we do not find them. All right, great job, guys. Does bold leopard keep the lead? Nope, amiable tiger. At least it's a cat. It should be a cat that wins this, okay? How does Cheetah Conservation Fund work to prevent cheetah-human conflict? So they referenced this very little bit today. Honeybee hives, barbed wire fencing, giant moats, just like protect the cheetahs with like snake pits, or livestock guarding dogs. Only 5 you got this. I expected we were going to have a bigger part of the presentation with us when I started the quiz. I really encourage our classes. Check out the amazing work of livestock guarding dogs, the Cheetah Conservation Fund. They're really, really neat. Amazing how something that's so simple, so traditional for a lot of us here in Canada and the US can make such a big difference in Africa. What can you do to protect cheetahs? Our final question. Tell your friends. Finish this broadcast. Tell everyone you know. Donate. Maybe you're keen to go to the Cheetah Conservation Fund website and check it out, see what you can do. Buy sustainably sourced products. I'm going to give you a hint that this might be a pretty traditional thing for all conservation. Or finally, for anyone who knows my Kahoot quizzes, that green guy might be a good bet. All of the above is the correct answer. Way to go. If you guys are these people on our podium, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Who won Arctic Shark number 3? I'm really hoping it's a cat. Carolyn, fingers crossed. Nimble Lizard, no. Oh, who's number 1? And then we're going to Q&A to, Amiable Tiger was a cat. If you're Amiable Tiger, let me know who you are in the chat. That's awesome. Miss Green's class, we're going to come to you guys first in Scarborough. We've got a bunch of Torontonians today, which is really exciting. So Miss Green, I'm heading to you guys for a live question. Turn on your mic and camera. So Miss Green, I'm heading to you guys for a live question. Turn on your mic and camera. And you're good to go.
Hi, we have a few questions, but the first one we're wondering about is, why are cheetahs endangered? Is it poaching, habitat loss, something else, a few things all at once?
Yep, that's a great question, and it is a couple things that you've mentioned. One is that it's habitat loss. Critical habitat is important to cheetahs, and we've lost that mostly because of human development. even in a country that's quite not a very big population like Namibia. That's one of the reasons. But another really big reason is what we call human-wildlife conflict. And that means that cheetahs, who are carnivores, are looking to, they have to eat, they hunt. We talked about that a little bit. And in some cases, when they can't find the prey that they prefer, they might see a Namibian farmer who has livestock, goats, sheep, and they say, well, I'm a starving cheetah. That goat looks pretty good. I'll go get it. And when that happens, of course, if the cheetah kills the goat, the farmer is very angry and often will kill the cheetah. So we're losing a lot of cheetahs that way. And in fact, Cheetah Conservation Fund works very hard to try to solve human-wildlife conflict. And one of the ways we do that is with the livestock guarding dogs, which actually protect the livestock and scare off the cheetah. So thanks, Jesse, for reminding me about how important the livestock guarding dogs are.
We did a program with Carolyn where she partnered with us in a Toronto Zoo joint program a couple months ago. It was amazing on cheetahs. We had live cheetahs catching meat right in the program. And we talked extensively about the livestock guarding dog. So again, check out that website to learn more about them. Human-wildlife conflict, I'm glad you brought that up. We talked about that earlier with Lucy Kemp and hornbills in South Africa. This is something we've seen with elephants, with predators in Canadian Western provinces. Mitigating that conflict, trying to make sure that people and animals don't have to compete for resources, food, for livestock, and make sure that we can quell those difficulties is a really big part of traditional or modern day conservation, which is very exciting. So, yeah. All right, we are going to head from Scarborough in the very east end of Toronto all the way to the very west end where I grew up to Etobicoke, Holy Crest Middle School. Mr. Shee's class, come on in and take us away. Hi.
Hi. How many cheetahs are left in Africa?
Yeah.
In Africa? Is that what you said, Africa?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, across Africa, there are about, I would say, just under 7,000. And that's a big change because 100 years ago, I know that's a long time ago, but 100 years ago, there were 100,000 cheetahs in Africa, and now we're down to just under 7,000. So you can see we really have to work hard to make sure we keep the cheetahs, and again, they're almost all in the continent of Africa and a lot in Namibia.
Yeah, I think, these sort of stories are distressing. Naturally, conservation can have a lot of dark parts to it. One of the things that you can really do, if you get a chance in your life, not only look up these things, tell your friends like we talked about, buy those sustainably sourced products, help these species, but go and visit cheetahs. I've had the chance to go to East Africa. Carolyn, of course, showcased all this. It is one of the most special places on this planet. And if you go there, you're proving that cheetahs are more valuable alive than dead. They're something that it's worth protecting. It's worth having these resources, people to help protect them. And so if you ever get that chance in your life, it is such a special opportunity. All right, Ms. Cottrell, we're coming to you guys in 2 seconds in New York, but I do want to highlight that Amiable Tiger was Lewis from Burlington, Miss Agrito's class. So way to go, Lewis. You get our everlasting respect. Ms. Cottrell, Baldwinsville, New York, welcome back for a second program today. Nice to have you guys here. Hi.
What are cheetahs' diet? Do they eat plants? What do they eat?
Yeah. What are they eating, Carolyn?
What do they eat? Well, that's a great question. And when they're in the wild, they are eating what we would call, I guess, in the antelope family. In Canada and the United States, we don't have them, but we have in Africa a small antelope that's called an impala. They like those very much. Those impalas run fast, but the cheetahs can get them. So they do like impalas. They eat some other smaller, sometimes even rabbits or smaller prey. But when we feed them, we give them a different kind of food. We don't give them wild prey. We give them meat that has extra nutrients in it. We make sure there's nutrients in it because that helps build strong bones and teeth for the cheetah. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
That's fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. All right, we're going to take back-to-back Californian questions. You talked about California at the beginning of the broadcast. So first we're going to go to YouTube, and then Miss Barajas, I'm coming to you next. Miss Peterson, she's teaching in Northern California. She had the chance to visit your ranch in 1997, which is pretty cool. So way to go. Thank you so much for joining today, Brenda. She wants to know how many cheetahs are being monitored by you guys. How many have those collars? How many do you regularly check up on? What's the deal?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Right now, this is giving a bit of an approximate number, but I would say right now we are following about 30 live cheetahs. So cheetahs that are out there in different, 25 to 30 cheetahs that are out have been released, and we're still monitoring them with those collars. We get information about them so we know how they're doing. And so that's a great way to, to know that what you've been doing in rewilding is working.
Fantastic. Glad we got that question. All right, Ms. Barajas joining us in Oxnard, California. If you guys want to unmute your mic, you're good to go. You can share a question. Hey, Ms. Barajas, welcome in.
Hi, go ahead, Silas.
Okay, so can I show you guys something?
Well, what's your question for a presenter?
My question is, how do the cheetah, like, what if the cheetahs don't find food and they can't find a farm either?
Yeah, great question.
Silas, did you say what do they do if they can't get any food?
Basically, yeah. So you release them out. They can't get food. They can't find a farm. There's nothing that they can do.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because cheetahs, like all of us, they must eat. They can be in trouble if they can't find any food. And so that's why we talk about saving the cheetahs, but we also talk about saving all wildlife. We want to make sure that there's really good balance between carnivores like the cheetahs, but also we want to make sure that there's a really good balance to have prey that they can pursue. So it's all part of the same ecosystem, and it's something that Cheetah Conservation Fund works on a lot. We know that unless things are in balance in nature, there's going to be trouble, and it would be very sad if the cheetahs couldn't find any food at all.
Again, conservation isn't necessarily all smiles, but it's really important to highlight the amazing work that's being done by Carolyn, by the CCF team, to help protect these amazing creatures. Again, if you ever get a chance to see a cheetah either live or in a well-accredited zoo, they are a really special animal. I really do encourage you to check out that zoo program we did with Carolyn in partnership back a couple months ago. Really, really special stuff. They are really amazing animals. Now, Carolyn, time flies when you're having fun. We've got time for about 3 more questions, unfortunately. But what I will note, I just built this up for everybody. If you do want to share more questions after the fact, for those who are familiar, we are using a Padlet. If you're new to Padlet, very easy sign up, no money, nothing. You can post in a virtual whiteboard. So padlet.com/our/cheetah. For 2 days, we're going to leave that up. If you guys want to share more questions there, Carolyn and I will make sure they get answered. So I know we've got more questions than we can answer in a broadcast, but very easy to sign in, and we're excited to see what you guys have to say. Now, until that point, Miss Eyre, I'm going to come to you in one quick second. I want to take one more from YouTube, one from you, and we'll wrap up on YouTube in a minute. So Ms. Martin, Natalie Martin's class from the French American School in Princeton, New Jersey, they want to know, is this strictly a breeding program, or do you take individuals from the wild to take into Cheetah Conservation Fund to participate? Like, how do you get your cheetahs, so to speak?
No, actually, it's a good question. There's no breeding in captivity in Namibia. It's against the law in Namibia, so that doesn't happen. And we only take cheetahs that really need our help, whether as I said, they've been orphaned or injured, and so we're not. We don't really go out looking for them, but we do take care of cheetahs that are in need. I would just tell you, if I can, Jesse, take one, because this is a cool story. We had a cheetah that came in. Her name was Daenerys, and she came in mid last year, 2021, and she had a broken leg. And we knew she was injured, so we wanted to take care of her. And you know what? When we did the x-rays for her leg, we found out that she was pregnant. She was going to have cubs. And so the cubs actually were born in captivity, and they will stay at Cheetah Conservation Fund. Daenerys was returned to the wild, but that's the only instance that we'd ever have cheetah cubs being born, only naturally, no breeding at all ever against the law in Namibia. So yeah.
Kudos to you for the stuff that you do, and I love the story. Miss Ayers' class, our third Toronto group today. You guys are just so fond of this in Toronto. Come on in, General Carolyn. Hi, guys.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay. We wanted to thank you, Carolyn, for all you guys are doing, and also exploring by the seat of your pants. We also brainstormed questions, and they have been answered, but we'd love to know, what could kids do to help, especially kids as far away as us in Canada?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just didn't quite hear your.
No worries. Yeah, I know you're masked up in the class, which is great. What can kids do to help? If you're here in Toronto, how can you help the cheetahs in Namibia?
Oh, it's a great question, and I think there's a couple things that that young people can do of all ages, but particularly young people, because my experience is they learn so fast. They know so much about cheetahs. They have a lot of passion a lot of times, and you can tell your friends and your family about the fact that cheetahs need protection, that they are endangered, that we need to make sure that we are saving their critical habitat, that they are part of the ecosystems, and that share it with your friends at school. We actually have educational material. So for some of the classes, they may be interested in Cheetah Conservation Fund's educational materials, just exactly for young people and learning about cheetahs. And as we all know, young people are the future. So we really want to pass on the important lessons about how magnificent cheetahs are to the young people.
You cannot start with conservation until you know about something, you're aware, you're excited. And again, this is what this program is all about. So thank you to all our amazing classes live on YouTube, well over 250 kids, which is awesome, from across the continent, for joining in today to learn about cheetahs. I mean, they're such a special creature. We got a chance to see them in action and see an amazing conservation work being done in one of the most incredible countries in the world, Namibia. Every time we have someone on talking about Namibia, it's just such a special and unique place on this planet. So lucky you, Carolyn, for getting the chance to work there and interact with them. And teachers, again, I want to encourage you, if you have more questions to share, padlet.com, check that out. We'll be checking it over the next 2 days. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, Carolyn, what we can do, again, I'll leave up your website. People can learn more about the work you do there and get involved, donate, get excited. What we do to end every broadcast, as you know from your Zoo program, I'm going to bring in all our teacher friends to say a big thank you and farewell. So Miss Green, Mr. Sheed, Miss Cottrell, Miss Barajas, and Miss Aaron, Miss Baracos class, come on in, guys. Thank you so much.